When something goes wrong in seconds, do you blame the operator or the 10 decisions that made failure virtually inevitable? In 2016, Dreamworld's Thunder Rapids ride malfunctioned and 4 visitors died. The junior ride operator closest to the emergency stop button didn't press it. A family member of 2 of the bereaved yelled at the operator, "Why didn't you stop the ride?" While these feelings are understandable, the question is too narrow to understand the disaster. Instead, the authors in today's study argue that at least 9 latent failures were already in place, quietly weakening the system long before the day of the tragedy. G'day everyone, welcome to Safe As. I'm Dr. Ben Hutchinson. Today's study is from Gregson and Quinlan, 2024, titled Death at Dreamworld, 10 Pathways to Disaster and Failure to Learn, published in the Economic and Labour Relations Review. On the 25th of October 2016, the Thunder Rapids ride malfunctioned. A pump designed to regulate water levels stopped. Water levels dropped, a raft became grounded on conveyor belts, and a second raft collided, flipped, and the adult occupants were thrown into machinery and killed. 2 children survived. Using Quinlan's 10 Pathways to Failure model, the authors unpack how Dreamworld followed similar patterns. Pathway 1, Engineering, Design and Maintenance Flaws. The coroner found multiple failures in design, engineering and maintenance. The ride was built in-house in the mid-80s, with few surviving records. The authors point out the ride speed and sequencing made key components tightly coupled, meaning little slack for recovery if something fails. After the incident, an inspector found the ride in generally poor condition, with significant corrosion evident throughout the steel components and concrete degradation in tunnels. The coroner noted that the basic engineering controls like an interlocking shutdown if the water pump failed, and a single clear emergency stop may have prevented the deaths. Pathway 2, Failure to heed warning signs. This wasn't a surprise with no signal, at least in hindsight. The paper details a history of high potential incidents on the same ride. In 2001, moving and stationary rafts collided and a raft flipped before guests boarded. A manager emailed leadership, "I shudder when I think if there'd been guests on that ride." There were further incidents in 2004 and 5 and 2008 and 14. Including raft spacing issues, sensor faults, and evacuations. The authors argued that learning was patchy and often dominated by administrative tweaks rather than deeper redesign or automation. Pathway 3, Flaws in Risk Assessment. Risk assessment was described as fragmented and poorly documented. The coroner observed, "It does not appear that risk assessments of rides within the park were carried out. They were very ad hoc." The paper stresses a basic point. If there's no record, investigators and regulators now often assume it didn't happen. And even if it did, undocumented assessments can't be reviewed, tested or improved. Though, I suspect some of my lawyer friends might disagree with this whole "if it's not documented, did it really happen" argument. Pathway 4, Flaws in Management Systems. The safety management system isn't just a folder of procedures. It has to work in practice. Dreamworld's operating procedures were found to be ambiguous and poorly coordinated across departments. The coroner concluded the procedures for the ride were ambiguous and poorly worded, and that operating procedures were drafted with minimal input from technical and safety staff. Training was also criticised. Operators were not adequately trained to recognise immediate danger conditions for the ride. The paper also cites organisational siloing. The former head of safety described failures to share safety knowledge, and a media quote attributed to him says, "For some risks in the park, everyone thought it was someone else's responsibility." Pathway 5, Flaws in System Auditing. Audits existed, but quality and follow-through were major issues. Earlier external audits were criticised for focusing on aesthetic issues rather than proper safety assessment against standards. Later audits scored Dreamworld poorly on safety documentation and compliance, and the coroner noted not all recommendations were even implemented. An engineer performing annual inspections issued certification without being supplied essential documentation, and the coroner referred him to the professional board. Pathway 6, Economic and Production Pressures Compromising Safety. This pathway is often hard to investigate, and the authors argue it's frequently under-examined. They cite evidence of budget pressures affecting maintenance and safety resourcing. Meeting minutes reportedly stated revenue is up, but profit is down, cutbacks are now being enforced, and repairs and maintenance spending needs to stop, while capital expenditure on new attractions continued. Pathway 7, Failures in Regulatory Oversight. Regulation copped some serious criticism. Registration inspections were overdue and had been granted extensions. The coroner discussed post-incident reforms, including stronger inspection regimes and a safety case approach, recognising that theme parks are high-hazard workplaces. Pathway 8, Concerns raised by workers or others that were ignored. A key piece of evidence is the Australian Workers' Union memo to the regulator, 20 months before the deaths. It warned that single operator staffing was a disaster waiting to happen. It asked for a full investigation ASAP. The authors note this memo was not referenced in the coronial report and question how the inspectorate responded. Though notably, in hindsight, you often do find these rare sort of whistleblowers who put their hand up. And sometimes it's really difficult to sort of differentiate the noise from the real early indicators. And in hindsight, it's always obvious. Pathway 9, poor communication or trust. The paper suggests a climate where discipline and blame can suppress reporting and speaking up, citing commentary that fear and sanctioning can weaken communication. They also point to weak systems for incident reporting and tracking being underused because they weren't user-friendly. Pathway 10, flaws in emergency and rescue procedures. In emergencies, task load and control design matter. Human factors evidence highlighted time-sensitive decision load, confusing emergency stop arrangements, and the challenge of coordinating action across separated operator positions. So what can we make of the findings? The 10 pathways model can act as a structured self-audit template before incidents occur, and as a kind of checklist for high potential incident investigations. Some take-home lessons might be to strengthen maintenance and engineering controls, especially automation and fail-safe shutdowns for safety critical functions. Make risk assessments real, based on workers' done conditions. Tap into the expertise and warnings from people. Updated after incidents, modifications, staffing changes. Include modifications, change of management, staffing changes, or repeated breakdowns. Demand audits to test systems in practice and not just aesthetics, and ensure recommendations are completed, tracked, and verified, even into the future. And improve regulatory capability and worker voice. The paper supports safety case oversight and stronger empowered safety representation. That's it on Safe As. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and links in comments if you'd like to support the channel.